In lesson 8.2, we're going to look at zero and negative exponents. So, zero exponents are very strange, and anything raised to the zero power equals 1, always and forever. So, if you look at a problem like this first example, with order of operations, you'd want to multiply these two numbers together and then raise it to the outside power. But if you look and you see that the outside power is 0, don't even bother doing this math. You just know that your answer is 1. Now in the second example, not everything is raised to the 0 power. So only what's raised to the 0 power gets to become a 1. This 25 is not attached to that exponent. So it's really like we're doing 25 times 1, which is 25. So you just have to be careful with zero exponents because everything doesn't cancel out, just whoever is raised to the 0 power. So that's just something you need to remember. If you don't believe me, punch something into a calculator, raise a number to a 0 power, and you'll get 1, I promise. So now we also have to talk about negative exponents. Well, all a negative exponent means is that you change the location. It does not change the sign, okay? Positive numbers are still positive, negative numbers are still negative. It just means to move a number to the opposite place where it is in a fraction. So, if I look at the first example, well, if I have negative exponents in a numerator or there's no fraction, you move the term to the denominator. So I can make x to the negative fourth into a fraction. I put it over 1. So now I can see that the negative power is in the top. Well, negative power means to change its location. So that x to the negative fourth is going to move to the bottom, but because I changed it, now I write it as a positive 4 power. And if there's nothing left in the top, you just put a 1 over it. And you're done. You're just rewriting. So in the next example, 3 to the negative 2 is really 3 to the negative 2 over 1. So a negative power in the top means it goes to the bottom, and there's nothing left, so it's a 1. But I would expect you to do 3 to the second power. 3 times 3 is 9. So 1/9 is the answer I would want. Notice it's not a negative 1/9. That negative has nothing to do with the sign. It just means to move it to the other position. So now I'm going to put all this over 1. Draw myself a fraction bar. This 2 does not have a negative power on it, so it stays in the top. But m to the negative third, that is a negative power on it, so that needs to move to the bottom and become m to the positive third. This p squared has a positive power, so it stays exactly where it is. And that's your answer. So you only move the terms that have negative exponents. Not everything moves position, just what has the negative exponent. Okay, so pause the video if you need to and fill all that in before we move on to the next part. Okay, now what happens if I have a negative exponent in the denominator? Well, again, I just look at it term by term. X to the fourth has a positive power, so it stays where it is. But x to the negative third, a negative power in the bottom, means you have to change its position. So instead of it going in the bottom, it's going to move up to the top and become a positive 3. Anytime you move a position of a term, you need to change that negative power to a positive power. Now there's nothing left in the bottom, so it's really just a 1, which I don't need. So I really have x to the fourth times x to the third. Well, since these are both x's, I can actually combine this. Keep the base, and remember what we do with the powers? We add them. So I get x to the 7th as my final answer. And that's zero and negative exponents. So pause the video, and then we'll try some examples.